You won't believe what happened in this story. A man witnessed a terrifying truth about Bigfoot and aliens while exploring deep in the forest. Grab a cup of coffee and join us as we dive into this tale. The story I'm about to share has been kept within my family for many years. It took place back in August 1987, when my uncle, Roy Tanner, decided to go on a solo adventure in Olympic National Forest, Washington. This place isn't just an isolated forest. It's well known for sightings of both UFOs and Bigfoot over the decades. In fact, Washington State has long been considered one of the hotspots for Bigfoot encounters in the U.S., and it's not uncommon for UFOs to be reported there at the same time. Roy was always fascinated by the unknown. He had read about strange events in Pennsylvania and Ohio, where UFOs and Bigfoot were spotted together back in the 1970s. But he never thought he'd come across anything like that himself, until this camping trip changed everything. On the second night of his trip, the sky was covered with clouds, and only a faint light from the moon shone through. Roy stepped out of his tent, looked up, and right then a bluish glow appeared on the horizon, growing bigger and drifting slowly across the sky. The light was so bright it couldn't have been just stars or the moon reflecting. The sky seemed to tear apart with a screech, like metal scraping against metal. And from that glow, an unidentified flying object shot down, disappearing behind the trees. Roy felt the air around him grow heavier, as if something strange was happening, like an invisible energy was pressing down on everything. In the silence, all he could hear was his own heart pounding. Following the scorched trail on the ground, he reached an open area in the forest where the craft lay, a shiny, disc-shaped object glowing with a mysterious dim light. As Roy moved closer, a strange sound came from the other side of the craft, a shuffling, heavy noise, like the footsteps of something large. He froze and held his breath, not daring to take another step. From the thick shadows emerged a tall figure. It was Bigfoot, a massive creature with glowing red eyes reflecting the light from the craft, and thick, dark fur covering its entire body. But something felt off. This wasn't just a wild animal. It moved slowly, carefully, and there was something in its eyes. Curiosity, but also understanding, as if it was there on a mission. Roy stepped back, but suddenly, the light from the craft flashed brightly and a series of strange images flooded his mind, like broken fragments of a dream. Bigfoot standing next to tall, thin beings with large eyes that could only be aliens. Ships flying over the forest and the sight of other creatures being taken away, never to return. In that moment, Roy heard a voice in his head, clear and sharp, but it didn't come from any of the creatures.
We have been here long before humans. This place is not for your kind.
Roy stood there stunned as Bigfoot stared back at him, almost as if it was waiting for something. In the distance, there was a sudden series of cracks, like branches snapping, each sound growing closer. And from behind the craft, 3 more creatures appeared, all of them tall, hairy, and with glowing red eyes. They moved together as if they were one being, their eyes fixed on Roy. The air felt even heavier, and everything around him seemed to grow darker. The sky was now filled with strange, cold lights, floating like giant fireflies, but their glow was unnatural, eerie. The metallic screech came again, this time from all directions, and Roy could feel the ground trembling beneath his feet. The leading Bigfoot stepped forward, its footsteps pressing the ground down, and it raised a hand, pointing toward the forest. Once more, the voice echoed in Roy's mind.
Go and do not return. Not all of us are kind.
Roy didn't need to be told twice. He turned and ran, his breath ragged in the still air. When he glanced back, he saw the creatures slowly fading into the mist. The craft suddenly shone brightly and shot up into the sky at an incredible speed, leaving behind a patch of darkness so deep it seemed to be alive. When Roy returned to his campsite, he couldn't sleep for the rest of the night. The metallic screeching and the image of Bigfoot's knowing eyes haunted him. He kept wondering whether those beings were guardians of the aliens, or if Bigfoot itself was some kind of creature from another world. But whatever they were, he knew one thing for sure. He never wanted to go back to that place again.